Hello students, welcome back to my third video lesson on the story The Last Lesson. In this third video, we are going to discuss important short and long answers from this story. First, let's take up some previous year's short answer type questions. What changes did the order from Berlin cause in the school? What were the changes in the school because of that order from Berlin? There were many changes. At first, unusual silence in the school, Mr. M. Hamel not scolding French for being late in the class, Mr. M. Hamel wearing his special dress that he wore only on inspection and prize days, then the empty back benches occupied by the village elders. Yes. Second question, how did M. Hamel say farewell to his students and the people of the town? How did he say his farewell to his students and the village elders of the town? First, he made that order from announced that order from Berlin in the class, and he told the class about the importance of the mother tongue. He praised the French language by calling it the world's most beautiful, the most logical and the clearest language in the world. Then finally he wrote on the blackboard, Vive la France. What had been put up on the bulletin board? Number 3. So the order from Berlin had been put up on the bulletin board. So you all are clear about that order from Berlin, that all the schools in the Alsace and Lorraine districts of France, in those schools, German language should be taught in place of French language, and that Mr. M. Hamel, the French teacher, should leave the country, France, the next day. Number 4. Who did M. Hamel blame for the neglect of learning on the part of boys like French? He blamed himself, he blamed the villagers, and he blamed the lazy boys like French, the lazy students who were never serious in their studies in the past. How he blamed himself? Because he used to engage students to water the flower plants in his garden instead of learning their lessons. And whenever he wanted to go for fishing, he used to declare holiday. Then the villagers, they themselves stopped going to school after some time, and they also thought of engaging. They also thought that it was better for their children to be engaged in farm and mills where they work in place of going to school, so that they could earn extra money. And then the lazy students like French, who always postpone their learning, who were never serious in their studies. Number 5, French thinks, will they make them sing in German, even the peasants? Now, what does this tell us about the attitude of the Frenchmen? Through this statement, we come to know the attitude of the Frenchmen towards the Prussians, their feeling of hatred and anger. They felt that order from Berlin was very inhuman. So will German also pass an order for the peasants to coup in German, not in French? This was a sarcastic remark. Number 6, what a thunderclap these words were to me. Which were the words that shocked and surprised little French? It was that order from Berlin. When Mr. M. Hamel, announced that order from Berlin, those words in the order were thunderclap to little French. How was the scene in the school in the morning of the last lesson different from that on other days? So all the surprises you can mention here. Then the difference between those surprises and the usual scene in the past, like every day when the school began, there was a confused noise heard from the classroom in the street, but that day there was unusual silence. Then the back benches were usually They were always empty, but that day those back benches were occupied by the village elders. Then Mr. M. Hamel wore his special dress only on prize days and inspection days, but that day he came in his special dress. Okay, then usually when students did not do their homework or when students were late in their class, Mr. M. Hamel used to punish them and scold them, but that day he didn't. Now, number 8, why had the villagers come to school on the day of the last lesson? Yes, the villagers had come to pay their, show their gratitude or pay homage to the dedicated teacher, Mr. M. Hamel, who had spent 40 years of his life in that school, teaching the villagers of that district how to read and how to write their mother tongue French. Some additional questions like why was Mr. M. Hamel kind to friends even though he was late for school? It's all because of that order from Berlin. And it was his last day in the school. How was the teacher dressed that day and why did it surprise French? Well, he was in his special dress. Okay, you can mention his special dress. Then why was it a big surprise to French? Because Mr. M. Hamel wore that special dress only on prize and inspection days, and that day it was not an inspection day or it was not a prize day, but he was in a special dress. So that's why his wearing special dress was a big surprise to French. Number 3, what announcement did Mr. M. Hamel make and what was the impact of the same on French? Announcement is that order from Berlin, okay? And what was the impact of that announcement on French? There was sudden change in French. He suddenly understood the importance of the school and importance of his teacher. He felt very bad that he was never serious in his studies in the past. Today, the day had come when he found that he could not even, read and write his mother tongue, and that day was his last opportunity. Okay. Now some long questions, including HOTS and value-based questions. HOTS, high order thinking scale. Now some textual questions like the first question, the people in the story suddenly realize how precious their language is to them. What shows you this and why does this happen? Now people in the story suddenly realize that their mother tongue is so valuable to them. Now what shows you this? They understood the importance of the mother tongue. Mother tongue gives identity, it gives meaning to your existence. Okay, so they understood that they have no identity without their mother tongue, and their existence was not going to be meaningful without their mother tongue. Number 2, when the people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Can you think of examples in history where the conquered people had their language taken away from them or had the language imposed on them? Okay, please find out. Okay, please find out. Is there any example in the history when such incident happened that a conqueror imposed language on the conquered, the way Prussians did on these French people? Number 3, what happens to a linguistic minority in a state? How do you think they can keep their language alive? Yes, for example, Punjabis in Bengaluru, Tamilians in Mumbai, Kannadigas in Delhi, or Gujaratis in Kolkata. So some Punjabis are staying in Bengaluru. So now they become a linguistic minority in that state. So how can these Punjabis keep their language, Punjabi language alive? They should make the maximum use of their mother tongue, okay, while staying in Bengaluru, and they should show their respect to their mother tongue in front of other people staying in that state. They should always keep their mother tongue close to them. The same way, Tamilians living in Mumbai, Kannadigas living in Delhi, Gujaratis living in Kolkata. Is it possible to carry pride in one's language too far? Do you know what linguistic chauvinism means? Now, is it possible to show your, to carry pride? So, yes, we all are proud of our mother tongue, but should we look down upon others' mother tongue and try to show that our mother tongue is superior or more important than others' mother tongue. Oh, this is not fair. This should not be done. So what is linguistic chauvinism? When you have an irrational belief in the superiority of your mother tongue over others. So this is linguistic chauvinism. This should not happen. Now some previous years questions. Uh, this Number one, give a character sketch of Mr. M. Hamel and the basis on the basis of the study of the story, the last lesson. You can give a character sketch of Mr. M. Hamel. Like you must have got many points about, his character. You can write down. Then number two, how did French spend the day of the last lesson at school? So what were the changes inside him? Okay, sudden change that you noticed in French that day, you can write down and you can include those points here. Now the number three, the day of the last lesson was full of regret and sadness. Describe the events of the day in the light of the above remark. Yes, the day of the last lesson was full of regret and sadness. This feeling was there among students, among villagers. Even Mr. M. Hamel blamed himself, okay, for committing two mistakes in the past. He used to engage students to water the flower plants in his garden, and whenever he wanted to go for fishing, he used to declare holiday. Then, this village elders who stopped going to school after some time, they also did not send their children to school, thinking that engaging their kids in this farm or mill would help them to earn extra money. Then this lazy students like French who always postpone their learning, so he blamed all these people. Okay, now um, what yes describe the effect on life at school produced by the passing of Alsace and Lorraine into Prussian hands. So all those changes that you see in the school because of that order from Berlin. Okay, you can include those points here. Then number five, what changes did the narrator find in the school when the order from Berlin came? The changes, the surprises, one after another. Then we have some additional questions, long questions. Number one, my children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. What was the impact of M. Hamel's words on the assembled class and why? So when he made this announcement that was his last French lesson, so what was the impact? What was the effect of that announcement on the assembled class? Yes, all the students, including French, they felt that they were able to understand everything Mr. Emil was teaching in the class, so clearly. Everything seemed so easy, whatever he was teaching in the class, because they were serious and they took interest that day. That's why. And at the same time, they were full of the feelings of remorse and regret over their past mistakes, for postponing their learning, for neglecting their learning. Okay. Second, number two, it seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away and to put it all into our heads in one stroke. Explain why friends experience these feelings. The way Mr. M. Hamel was teaching in the class, he took up the first lesson, then the next. After that, he tried to teach all the books in the class that day with so much patience and with so much great interest. So and he had patience till the end, though he was full of the emotions of sadness, okay, regret, but he had the patience to carry out or to conduct all the lessons and all the lessons in the class till the end. And French felt that Mr. M. Himmel was trying to give, whatever he had, trying to give the knowledge, whatever knowledge he had, in just one stroke to all the people inside the class. Number 3, at the end of the last lesson, Mr. M. Himmel wrote Vive la France on the blackboard in bold letters. Why do you think he wrote that, and how did he expect the people of Alsace-Lorraine to keep their identity intact? Why did he write that Vive la France on the blackboard? He wrote to pay his gratitude, to pay his respect to the mother tongue, which was not going to be their mother tongue from the next day. That's why he wrote Vive la France on the blackboard. And how did he expect the people of Alsace and Lorraine to keep their identity intact? He expected the people of Alsace-Lorraine to keep their identity intact by keeping the mother tongue French very close to their heart, never to lose them. Okay, now some value-based questions. These two value-based questions, I would like all of you to do it as homework. Okay, number 1, your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They prefer to put you to work on a farm or at the mills so as to have a little more money. I hope you must have understood this thing. Now, Maya Angelou, a famous writer and poet, said, when you know better, you do better. When you know something better, you do that thing better. After reading the chapter, the last lesson, and reading the words of Maya Angelou, you begin to ponder on the chapter, the last lesson. You begin to ponder on the merits and importance of education. You realize that education is of prime importance if the nation has to rise from its status of a developing country to that of a developed one. The future of the nation depends on aware and educated youths. Now, you have to write an article in about 100 words for a national daily, any national newspaper, about the role of education in leading the nation on the path of progress. Mention the merits of compulsory primary education as an as an agent of change and progress. I hope you must have understood the question. Please do these 2 questions as homework. Now the second homework question. See how it is every day we have said to ourselves, "Bah, I have plenty of time. I will learn it tomorrow." M. Scott, a psychiatrist and writer, once said, "Unless you value yourself, you will not value your time. Until you value your time, you will not value anything with it." Okay, so this was a statement of M. Scott, a psychiatrist and writer. After reading the lesson and the wise words of M. Scott, you ponder about the habits of youth to waste valuable time in putting off important things that need immediate attention. Now, as a head boy or head girl of your school, you decide to address the students in the morning assembly, telling them about the importance of making the maximum or optimum use of their time and the importance of not delaying things that need to be done. You wish to stress the fact that time is a valuable resource which, if used well, and benefit not just the individual but society as a whole. So, write a speech in about 100 words on this. First, write an article. Second, you write a speech. So, please go through the questions properly, understand the question properly, and then please write an article and write a speech. This is your homework. So please submit your homework as soon as possible so that I could give you your feedback, my feedback on your homework. So I hope through this 3 videos on the story The Last Lesson, you all must have been benefited. Still, if you carry some doubts, please don't hesitate to share. Till then, bye-bye.